Incredible rescue, exposed 10 heartwarming minutes to save a panda from a giant python attack. Panic engulfed Maplewood as the news blared through town like a siren. A giant python had escaped. The air was thick with fear and anxiety. Everyone knew Xing, the beloved panda at the local zoo, a cherished gem that represented not just wildlife but the heart of their community. The creature was in grave danger, and so was the town's spirit. Amidst the chaos, 28-year-old Jamie felt the weight of her past pressing down on her. Growing up on her family's struggling farm, she had learned the tales of sacrifice and valor. Today, she had the chance to weave her story into her community's tapestry. Directing a furtive glance at the crowd gathered near the zoo, Jamie saw familiar faces twisted in doubt. Many had underestimated her, including Lisa, the glimmering star from high school, who stood with arms crossed, eyeing Jamie like a hawk. All those memories flooded back, the whispers, the rolled eyes. Jamie clenched her fists. As the zoo director, Mr. Wilkins, approached her, desperation etched in his features, Jamie felt the tide of doubt shifting slightly. "Jamie, please," he pleaded, "I know you have a special connection with animals. We need you." His panic drew her in. The town needed her. "Let us do this," Jamie affirmed. As she set into motion, her heart raced, driven by the innocence of Xing's wide black and white eyes in her mind. Memories of her family cheering her on filled her with determination. She slapped together a plan in her mind, lending a fierce calm to the rising action around her. Soon, she was met by skepticism. "That farm girl thinks she can save a panda?" One voice sneered through the crowd, igniting Jamie's frustration. She felt the weight of her humble beginnings. Those roots that had forged her strength were now being questioned by the very town she loved. But alongside their doubt, she could also see glimmers of support, people who stood by, drawn closer by their love for Xing. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Just then, the tension thickened when she faced Lisa. "You really think you can handle this? You belong in the dirt of that farm, not saving endangered species," Lisa said, her voice laced with arrogance. Jamie's heart raced. "And yet here I am, facing fears head-on while you stand and judge." Their fight revealed deep scars, past misunderstandings clashing against the backdrop of their divided town. With Czar's life at stake, Jamie took a deep breath. It was a moment of great impact. What if she failed? What if she couldn't save him, or worse yet, what if she let her community down once again? As time trickled away, it became crystal clear this wasn't just about a panda. It was a chance to reshape their community's perception, to remind them of the strength that comes from unity. The python hissed ominously in the distance, and Jamie felt the adrenaline spike. The clock was ticking. Would the townsfolk rise above biases and rally behind her? Or would past judgments devour her ambition, both for Xing and her own future? The answer hung heavily in the air, an impossible question of courage, and Jamie's heart thundered as she prepared for the ultimate test. Would she find the strength to save her beloved panda, or would they all fall victim to their fears? The stakes had never been higher. Jamie's heart pounded in her chest as adrenaline surged through her veins. The crowd was a shifting sea of anxious faces, some hopeful but many doubtful. She turned her focus away from the hostile whispers and concentrated on the task ahead. Every second mattered. "Mr. Wilkins," she called out, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "We need to get a team organized. Can you gather anyone who is willing to help?" His eyes lit up, and with renewed urgency, he nodded. "Yes. I'll get them right away." As he rushed off, Jamie turned her attention to the zoo, its tranquil image fractured by the chaos of the moment. She could still picture Xing, basking under the sun, munching bamboo while children laughed and squealed with delight. Jamie couldn't let fear win. Not today. Nearby, she spotted a small band of volunteers forming. A mix of familiar faces emerged, longtime residents who remembered the joy Xing brought to the community. Among them, she noticed Maria, an older woman known for her vast knowledge of wildlife. Jamie approached her, determination firming her resolve. "Maria, can you help me? I need someone who can guide me in dealing with the python. We need to draw him away from the area where he might encounter Xing." Maria nodded, her face a wellspring of support. "Of course, dear. But you must be careful. Serpents can sense fear." Jamie nodded. "I know. I just have to channel that fear into focus. We can do this together." As more volunteers arrived, murmurings of support began to fill the air. "We stand with Jamie," someone shouted, and for the first time since the panic began, the atmosphere shifted. There was a newfound energy in the crowd, a sense of unity forming in response to the heart of the crisis. "Let us get moving," Jamie rallied. "We'll start near the forest line where the python was last seen. If we're quiet and careful, we might be able to trouble him before he encounters Xing." The group nodded, their faces a mix of determination and concern. They followed her through the maze of zoo exhibits, the distant sound of visitors whispering in awe and anxiety fading behind them. With each step, Jamie felt lighter. Each breath built upon her courage, as if her childhood dreams of becoming someone stronger were finally solidifying into reality. She glanced back at her team, inspiration blooming within her. "Remember, everyone, Xing means the world to all of us. We're not just saving him, we're reminding each other who we are. We'll stand strong and united." The words reverberated in her chest, resonating with everyone around her, igniting a fire they desperately needed. In the distance, the oppressive hiss of the python pierced the air, a stark reminder that time was quickly slipping away. Jamie peered ahead, the shadows of the trees loomed ominously. "Stay low and quiet," she whispered, leading them forward. Suddenly, a rustling sound erupted in the underbrush. Her heart clenched. There it was, a flash of scales and a dangerous glint in the dappled sunlight. "It's bigger than I imagined," someone gasped. Jamie swallowed hard. The python, coiled and ready, seemed more formidable up close. "We can't turn back now," she breathed. As the python lifted its head, meeting Jamie's gaze, time froze. It was a pivotal moment, a battle of wills. Would she be able to bring this creature back from the brink of danger and into the light, or would fear swallow them all whole? With the shadows closing in, she prepared herself to face the beast ahead, knowing their world rested on the outcome of this encounter. How far would she go to protect what she loved? As she reached inside herself to summon the courage needed, a shiver of doubt flickered beneath her resolve. Could she really do this? The air saturated with tension, thick enough to taste. Jamie took a deep breath, realizing not just her fight was at stake, but the entire town's unity hung in the balance. Would the community rise together, or would the weight of their past pull them down into despair? The answer awaited her. Jamie took a step forward, her heart racing. The python's cold eyes bored into hers, full of primal instinct. Each breath felt louder, echoing her resolve and her fear. The crowd shifted behind her, hushed now, their anticipation palpable. "Stay calm," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. Maria came up beside her, keeping her gaze steady on the giant serpent. "Remember, it's not just about fear or courage. It's about knowing how to navigate this." Jamie nodded, drawing strength from Maria's presence. "Okay, let us try to lure him away. If we can make some noise over there," she pointed to a clearing deeper into the woods, "he might follow." The volunteers murmured agreement, stepping closer together. They fidgeted, uncertain but united. "On three," Jamie said, her voice steady. 1, 2, 3. They all let out a shout, a cacophony of noise meant to distract and draw the python's attention. The serpent flicked its tongue, tasting the air, before slowly uncoiling. Jamie's heart sank slightly. Moments like this could change everything. Trusting the creature to turn one way or the other pushed her to the edge. But the python's curiosity was piqued, and it began to slither away from Xing's territory. "Now," Maria urged, and without missing a beat, they began clapping their hands, stomping their feet. The movement seemed to rattle the trees. The python, drawn by the sounds, paused and turned its head toward the noise, captivated. They backed away slowly, continuing their raucous act. Jamie held her breath as the creature began to uncoil further, shifting towards the sound. It was working. A wave of hope washed over her. Each inch the python moved felt like a victory, a collective breath of relief escaping from the crowd. "Keep it going," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper but steady. The energy surged back into the team, bolstered by the sight of success. Maria grabbed a stick and swung it, striking the ground for emphasis. The team matched her rhythm, a wild dance made to enchant the serpent. Without warning, a loud crack echoed through the air as a branch snapped. Jamie jerked around. The sudden sound sent the python into a sudden alert state. Its body coiled tightly once more, ready to strike at the slightest provocation. The group held its breath. "Don't panic," Jamie called, desperate to keep the fear from spreading. "We've come this far. Let us show it we're not afraid." But with each tense second, doubt began creeping in. What if it charged? What if it turned its focus back to Xing? Each push for courage felt more forced as the animal's gaze remained locked on them. Jamie stole a glance back toward the zoo. Xing was still in his enclosure, blissfully unaware of the turmoil just steps away, and yet she could imagine him sensing their anxiety from afar. She couldn't let him down. In the maelstrom of emotions, she realized something deep within her sparked. It was a chance to stand for more than just saving a life. This was about community, about fighting together against fear. "We believe in you, Xing," she shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos around her. "We're coming for you." Just as she spoke, the python lunged toward them, its body a blur of strength and grace. The crowd gasped collectively, tension thick enough to suffocate. But before panic could break out, Jamie stepped forward with a raw sense of determination. "Draw it away," Maria shouted as she tossed the stick farther into the woods, the crack of wood breaking through the tension. Just as quickly as it attacked, the python turned, chasing after the movement. Heart racing, Jamie felt both fear and relief. In that moment, she understood. It wasn't just about the python or Xing, this was about standing as one. Would they make it in time to ensure Xing's safety, or would fear unravel their efforts? The next few moments could change everything. The stakes were higher than she'd ever anticipated. What would they do if it all went wrong now? The python shot away into the underbrush, its sleek body disappearing with startling speed. For a heartbeat, the crowd stood frozen, the air thick with the tension of what had just happened. Jamie felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins, a mix of relief and lingering fear. But they couldn't let their guard down yet. "Keep going, let us move." Maria's voice cut through the silence, rallying the volunteers. They turned on their heels, ready to follow the serpent deeper into the trees. Jamie's instinct told her they had mere moments to act. The ground was uneven beneath their feet, roots and rocks jutting out like obstacles in an obstacle course. Jamie pushed forward, her heart pounding louder than the thudding of footsteps around her. Each moment felt like an eternity, and the stakes felt even higher than when they defaced the python. "Over there," one volunteer shouted, pointing at a clearing where the underbrush rustled ominously. Jamie squinted, searching for movement. What if it's gone? Another voice echoed doubts she didn't want to entertain. But they had to try. "Let us be smart about this, we need to stay together," Jamie called out, regaining the focus of her group. As they approached the next clearing, she felt the grip of fear wrap more tightly around her. What if they made it worse? What if they found the python resting by Xing's enclosure, ready to strike? But there was no time for what-ifs. Just ahead, Jamie caught sight of the python coiled against a massive tree trunk, its glossy scales glinting in patches of sunlight. And just beyond it, she could see the faint shape of Xing, pacing nervously in his habitat. The sight of him twisted something deep in her chest. He needed her, he needed them all. "Okay, don't panic. We can do this. Focus." she shouted, glancing back to her team, who seemed to draw strength from her determination, tightening their formation. Remember the plan. Let us distract it again, Maria suggested. They needed an approach that required strategy, not just noise. Jamie eyed the python cautiously, its head raised, tongue darting as it tasted the air. On the count of 3, we do it all together. Loud and then quiet. Got it. The group confirmed, steeling themselves. 1, 2, 3. Their shouts echoed through the woods once more, a roar of voices blasting against the stillness. This time, Jamie added her own movements, waving her arms wildly to amplify their commotion. The python shifted, its attention diverted, and for a moment, Jamie felt a flicker of hope. Now. Quiet. She ordered, and all at once, the noise ceased. The sudden silence felt electric, hanging heavily in the air. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, in a fluid motion, the python's gaze shifted, its focus locked onto the nearly forgotten movements in the corner of their clearing. Jamie felt a rush of adrenaline. This was their moment. Go, 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 she exclaimed, motioning toward the path that led back to Xing. Their feet flew over the ground, pounding the forest floor, hearts synchronized in their rhythm of urgency. As they reached the panda's enclosure, Jamie's eyes widened in horror. Xing appeared restless, his dark eyes wide with confusion. Just as they reached for him, the python turned, eyes gleaming with intent. Protect Xing! Someone yelled. Jamie felt her heart drop. Time was slipping away. They had to act fast. Would they manage to shield Xing before disaster struck, or would it all end in chaos? The seconds raced by, and the culmination of their efforts hung in the balance. Would this rescue turn into a rescue mission for both of them? Before Jamie could process what was happening, the python surged forward, its movements swift and sinuous. The shock of seeing it so close sent a shiver down her spine. No! She gasped, instinctively stepping in front of Xing. He needed to trust her, to feel safe, even in this chaos. Create a barrier! Maria shouted, panic evident in her voice. The group responded quickly, forming a protective circle around the panda enclosure. Jamie could feel her heart racing, each beat resonating with the urgency of their mission. As they positioned themselves, Jamie's gaze flickered back to Xing. He was pacing back and forth, his fur bristling. Was he already aware of the danger? There was something poignant in his uncertainty, something that deepened her resolve. On my count. Jamie breathed, remembering the adrenaline from moments before. They couldn't afford to lose control, she needed to lead with courage. 1, 2, 3. With increasingly loud shouts, they waved their arms again, desperate to redirect the python's attention. The creature halted, momentarily distracted. Jamie seized the opportunity and shouted, now. Move in closer. It was a risky decision, the python could snap back any moment. But they had little choice. The creature was stronger and faster, playing by its rules would mean disaster. Jamie glanced at her friends, fear etched in their faces but determination fused into their action. They all understood the stakes. The python shifted its focus, head swaying as it took in their presence. Jamie's breath caught in her throat. She could see the muscles coiling, the readiness to strike. Her instinct screamed at her to run, but she stood her ground, fighting to keep her breath steady. Make yourself big! Maria yelled, mimicking some animal behavior she had once read in a survival guide. And so they all did. They moved closer together, arms outspread, shouting louder. The snake hesitated, tongue flicking as if trying to smell their fear. Jamie felt a strange connection forming with the creature, a moment where they seemed locked in a stare. Focus, please, she whispered under her breath, willing the python to reconsider. At that moment, as if sensing her intent, Xing let out a soft, worried grunt. The sound cut through the tension, cutting both Jamie and the python. The attention shifted as Jamie glanced back at the panda. Seeing his vulnerable state tugged at her heart. She had to protect him. Get back! She yelled suddenly, bobbing her head and signaling them to retreat slightly. Instinctively, they took a step back, creating more distance. Jamie took a deep breath, hoping the shift would confuse the python. Yet the python swayed slowly side to side, preparing for its next move. It seemed undeterred by their efforts. This isn't working. Jamie's desperation swelled with each second ticking by. Just as she thought they were running out of options, an idea sparked in her mind. Maria! That grape juice. Use it to lure it away. She remembered the sugary scent always drew animals in at the enclosure. With a quick nod, Maria scrambled to grab the juice. The others held their breath, watching the python with bated anticipation, unsure if the distraction would work. Bring it over here, Jamie urged, adrenaline shooting through her veins. The time for action was now. As Maria poured a trail of sweet liquid onto the ground, the aroma filled the air. Would it prove strong enough to pull the python away, or were they out of time? The serpent's gaze suddenly shifted, its interest piqued. It slithered closer to the enticing scent, and Jamie felt a flicker of hope spring inside her. But she also knew this was only the beginning. Would the python follow the juice, or was it too clever for a simple diversion? The heart-stopping uncertainty loomed heavily over them, as they clung to the hope that they could save both Xing and themselves. The moment hung suspended in air, and Jamie held her breath. The python, drawn by the scent, inched closer to the grape juice. Hope pulsed in her chest like a drumbeat, but that hope was laced with anxiety. Would this be enough? Maria's hands trembled as she continued to pour the juice, the bright purple liquid glistening against the concrete. Come on, Jamie urged silently, willing the snake to follow the trail. Just then, the python's head darted toward the juice, its tongue flicking out as it tasted the sweetness in the air. A collective sigh of relief escaped the group, but Jamie was not ready to celebrate. They still had to get Xing to safety. Keep moving, Maria, Jamie called out, her voice sharpened with urgency. Don't let it lose track. Maria began to pull back slowly, dropping a few more drops farther away, her eyes wide with fear but determination. The others fanned out, creating an unbreakable line between the python and Xing. All she could think was that they needed to lead the python away from the enclosure. With surprising speed, the python followed the juice trail, its focus entirely on the syrupy distraction. Jamie felt a surge of adrenaline as she took a careful step back, guiding her friends to do the same. Just a few more steps. Jamie's voice trembled as she counted with her heart racing. Stay tight. Xing, still watching with wide eyes, seemed to sense the shift in tension. Jamie caught his gaze again, and in that moment, she felt a deep connection, a silent promise to protect him. But suddenly, the python paused. It lifted itself up, towering like a dark shadow against the daylight. Jamie's heart sank as she realized it might have sensed something was off. It turned back toward Xing with a deadly glint in its eye. No, 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 she murmured, panic flooding her veins. Time felt like it was slipping away from her grasp. They had to take control again. Stomp your feet, Maria shouted suddenly, a burst of inspiration breaking through the clamor of their fears. Everyone echoed her, their boots pounding against the ground. The python hesitated again, confused by the noise. Jamie's heart pounded like a jackhammer. Keep it distracted, Xing, she called out, her voice breaking slightly. Leaning forward, she extended her arms, willing him to stay calm. You're safe, buddy. Just trust us. As if hearing her plea, Xing let out a deep, fearful rumble, but he stayed where he was. Jamie felt a lump form in her throat, the weight of his trust resting heavily on her. With every ounce of courage she had, she yelled, now, keep moving back, and gestured for Maria to pull the juice away even faster. The python turned once more, entranced by the fruit-flavored path. Slowly, it began moving in the intended direction, away from Xing and toward freedom. But just as Jamie thought they were winning this battle, the python lunged forward, catching a whiff of something unseen. The moment froze. Get down, Maria shouted. Everyone ducked instinctively, hearts racing, fear clutching at their throats. Would this plan actually work, or had they just made everything worse? As the python lunged, Jamie's thoughts raced. There was still a chance if they could just get Xing to move. But no one could move if panic took them. Jamie clenched her fists, rallying her strength once more. "Come on, Xing!" she cried, her voice strong, filled with urgency that echoed their resolve. Would they turn the tide in time, or was the python's strike unavoidable? The answer teetered on the brink as she locked eyes with the creature again, silently begging for understanding. In the split second that followed, the python seemed to hesitate, caught between instinct and distraction. Jamie could see its muscles twitch, coiled and ready to strike, but still drawn by the sweet scent trailing away from Xing. Time felt almost unreal, every heartbeat magnified in the silence that enveloped them. "Xing!" Jamie's voice cut through the tension, sharp and fierce. "You need to move now." The panda's large, dark eyes met hers, and in that moment, Jamie felt a deep, primal urge to protect. She stood tall, unwavering, even as her heart raced faster than she thought possible. Just then, she spotted Maria moving, a swift motion alongside her outstretched arm, coaxing the python further away. "Do it for him!" Maria yelled, her voice echoing through the stillness. She poured more juice, the cascading liquid glistening like liquid hope. The python's eyes flickered back to the juice, and Jamie seized the moment. "Let us go," she urged her friends. They coordinated their moves, a synchronized retreat toward safety, keeping the snake's focus on the drops that danced away. Gradually, Xing began inching backward, his instinct for safety igniting. "Yes," Jamie whispered, heart soaring as she watched him slowly retreat, almost unsure but believing in their call. Their eyes stayed connected, and Jamie encouraged him silently with every step. A flick of the python's tongue surfaced, tasting the air once more, but Jamie hadn't taken her eyes off it. "Stay calm," she directed herself and her friends, though the tremor in her voice belied the confidence she was trying to project. Yet, the quiet was short-lived. The python, refocused, suddenly lunged, swiping through the air like a bolt of darkness. Jamie felt her own fear splinter, a gut-wrenching panic gripping her heart. Would their efforts crumble before her very eyes? Would they fail Xing? "Stomp again," Maria urged, rallying the group to continue their distraction. The combined sound reverberated off the walls, a rhythm that pulsed through Jamie's veins. Xing, now moving with a purpose, climbed a few feet, his instincts kicking in every noise a command, every shout pushing him closer to freedom. "Keep it going," Jamie shouted, stepping backward while ensuring everyone stayed tightly clustered around Xing, blocking his view from any potential threats. The python, unsatisfied with the glistening distraction, pivoted, turning its glaring focus on them once again. Jamie's heart lurched. "No. Over here," she hollered, waving her arms wildly. Was this enough? But in a twist of fate, the distraction broke through. The python hesitated once more, and Jamie could see its determination flicker. Just for a moment, its head was cocked, and she sensed the change. The snake was losing its will. "Now. This is our chance," Maria shouted, her voice infused with newfound strength. Activating a surge of adrenaline, the group pulled together, edging closer to safety with each beat of Jamie's heart. Inch by inch, they pushed Xing further away. The python's interest was waning, and the moment became clearer. With one last hopeful push, Jamie called out, "Xing, now. You can do this." As if he understood, the panda moved with a burst of energy, darting past Jamie and toward the exit of the enclosure. Relief washed over her like a summer rain, electrifying every sense, but the python reacted instantly. It lunged and the air filled with tension, an impending clash of fate. Would they finally make it out, or was this a twist too late to navigate? Jamie held her breath, heart racing, as she watched the danger of the last few moments weave together. The outcome was now just one heartbeat away. Time slowed as the python surged forward, its powerful muscles coiling with purpose. Jamie's instincts drowned out every other sound. She felt her heart hammer against her ribs, a wild drum echoing in her ears. Xing was almost free, but could they outpace the monstrous reptile? "Run, Xing! Run!" Jamie shouted, her voice hoarse and raw, fueled by desperation. She pushed past her own limits, urging her friends to move. Maria flanked Xing on one side, a determined look painted across her face, while Jamie remained steadfast, shielding the panda with her body against the growing danger. Xing darted toward the opening. His black and white fur seemed to glisten under the dim lights, reflecting a spark of hope. Just as he reached the threshold, the python's jaws snapped, missing him by mere inches, a close call that left Jamie gasping. "Almost there," she cried, eyes still glued to the intimidating creature. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as she urged her feet to run, yet she felt as if she were frozen, a statue of valor on the precipice of chaos. With a powerful thrust of his body, the python shifted direction, its striking fangs inches from sinking into the soft flesh of Xing's back. Jamie's world narrowed down to a singular focus. "No!" she screamed, her voice shattering the tension. Suddenly, Maria broke away, sprinting around the python, an unexpected maneuver. "Over here!" she hollered, throwing down another splash of juice. The sugary liquid arced perfectly, creating an enticing trail leading away from the enclosure. The python, momentarily distracted, paused once more to assess this new target, its forked tongue flicking like a whip. Jamie saw her opening. "Go, go, go!" Xing didn't hesitate anymore. Adrenaline surged through him, kicking his legs into high gear as he bolted past the python's swaying tail. With a shared glance of determination, Jamie and her friends followed. They sprinted, hearts pounding like they were in a race against time itself, pulling Xing toward safety. Each step felt like an eternity, each breath dense with fear. Could they make it? Would the python forget its focus on Xing? As they neared the exit, Jamie suddenly stumbled, her foot catching on uneven ground. Panic shot through her as she fell against the dirt. No, no, not now. But just as despair wrapped around her like a vine, she saw Xing pause, looking back at her with wide, surprised eyes. He stopped, uncertainty flooding his face. "Xing!" Jamie pleaded, urgency coded in her voice. The python, still alert, felt the shift and turned back toward them, its eyes piercing like daggers. "Come on!" Maria yelled, attempting to coax the panda forward with gentle calls. "You're almost free." In that breathless moment, Jamie realized their fate hung on this fragile moment. The python darted its tongue out again, teasing the air, its demeanor resembling a predator ready to pounce. But instinctively, Xing took a tentative step forward. Encouraged, Jamie scrambled to her feet, brushing dirt from her knees. All together now, they sprinted for the exit once more, desperation anchoring them down but resolve pushing them forward. As they rushed, the sense of danger remained ever present, an invisible mist cloaking their actions, but now, they flowed as one entity, a team fueled by unwavering purpose. With each step, hope intertwined with fear. Would they truly escape? Would the python give in and leave them behind? Just as they burst through the exit, Jamie glanced back, and what she saw stopped her cold. The python wasn't just watching them flee. There was something different in its gaze, an unexpected flicker of something that sent chills down her spine. "Did you see that?" she gasped, breathless and wide-eyed. Before her friends could respond, a chilling realization began to settle in. What if the python wasn't alone? As they stood frozen, the echoes of the zoo surrounded them, and the weight of the moment pressed heavy. Would they be faced with an even greater challenge? Jamie's heart raced as she surveyed the darkness beyond the enclosure. Shadows danced on the walls, and the unsettling sound of rustling leaves whispered all around them. The moment felt too quiet, too still. "Jamie, we need to move." Maria's voice broke through Jamie's thoughts, snapping her back to the present. She could see Maria's fear mirrored in Xing's wide, terrified eyes. "Yes. Right. Let us go." Jamie stammered, urging Xing to bolt forward, but worry clawed at her mind. What had she seen in the python's gaze? It wasn't just predatory hunger, it was something deeper, something unsettling. Xing must have sensed her unease because he hesitated again, glancing from Jamie to the shadows. Tension crackled in the air. "Come on, Xing. Trust us." Jamie pleaded, holding her hand out toward him. As Maria tugged lightly on Xing's furry leg, the panda finally seemed to shake off his dread. With a sudden burst of speed, he took off past Jamie, who hurried after him. Suddenly, a rustling echoed from the bushes to their left, and the trio froze. The shadows shifted ominously, and Jamie's pulse quickened again. Her instinct screamed at her, something was watching them. "Stay close," Maria hissed, looking around frantically. Every sound felt amplified, each breath, each rustle, a prelude to potential disaster. They rushed onward, navigating through the winding paths of the zoo. But even amidst the adrenaline, Jamie's mind was flicking back to that python. Had it been calling for help? Could it have been lonely instead of merely hungry? The thought chilled her, like an ice cube slipping down her spine. As they turned a corner, they stumbled into a clearing lit by the soft glow of the moon. It illuminated an unsettling scene. The space was littered with abandoned items, broken toys, discarded food wrappers, and way too many animal tracks. Some were unmistakably familiar. They were paw prints. But others, much larger, were morphing into dangerous shapes, setting Jamie on edge. "Whoa," Maria said, her voice shaky. "How far are we from the exit?" Jamie squinted into the glimmering moonlight, trying to gauge their surroundings. "Not too far, we just need to keep moving." But as soon as she uttered the words, the sound of more rustling broke out from the underbrush, and the trio froze again. A much larger figure emerged, its shape emerging from the shadows. Jamie's breath caught in her throat as recognition hit her. Another python. "Stay calm. Just back away slowly," Jamie whispered, her instincts urging her to protect Xing. She felt Maria's grip tighten on her arm, her fear palpable, but before any of them could act, the new python struck out, its massive body crashing through the thick undergrowth. Jamie instinctively pushed Xing behind her, wanting to shield him one last time. "Run!" she shouted, panic tearing through her chest. They spun around, sprinting down the path, desperation igniting their legs like a fire. Each thud of their feet against the ground echoed their racing hearts. With the new python hot on their heels, a primal instinct kicked in. Jamie could feel her muscles burning, her lungs screaming for air, but she couldn't stop. She had to keep them safe. Turning back wasn't an option. Just as they neared the exit gate, Jamie caught a glimpse of Maria's face as it turned into sheer dread. "What now?" Maria cried, looking past them. Jamie turned to see not just one but two pythons closing in, their scales shimmering under the faint moonlight as they glided through the darkness with graceful menace. "Go. I'll hold them off," Jamie yelled, a mix of bravery and terror bubbling in her chest. "No. We're sticking together," Maria retorted, voice cracking. The moment felt electric, and Jamie could feel their resolve shaking under the weight of their instincts. Absorbing the tension in the air, Jamie's heart plunged into uncertainty. How would they escape? She looked at Xing, whose wide eyes mirrored her fears. They were trapped at the junction of panic and bravery, faced not just with danger, but the looming question of sacrifice. As the two giant pythons advanced, Jamie realized this moment was about more than survival. Would they fight for their freedom, or was it time to make a stand? In that fleeting pause, she contemplated the cruel twist of fate that might force them to face the darkness, inching closer. Would hope light their way, or would despair engulf them entirely? Jamie felt the weight of the world bearing down on her. Two giant pythons were closing in, their shimmering bodies gliding ominously through the dim light. Fear surged like electricity through her veins, but deep down, something else burned: bright determination. She remembered the panic in the eyes of the townsfolk, the whispers that doubted her, and most importantly, she thought of Xing. "Listen to me," Jamie shouted, her voice echoing into the night. "We need to think smart. It's not just about running. We can outsmart them." The crowd of volunteers stood behind her, hesitant yet hopeful, their energy coiling like the pythons advancing towards them. They needed a plan, fast. Maria grabbed Jamie's arm, eyes wide. "What's the plan?" she asked, her voice wavering. "Distraction," Jamie replied, steeling herself. "We split up. Create noise, and draw them away from Xing. We can lead them into the clearing where the old fence is broken, they won't be able to escape that easily. Jamie sensed the fear in the air, but she could also feel the flicker of hope igniting in her friend's eyes. "All right," Maria exclaimed, determined. As they began their retreat into the shadows, a newfound sense of unity surged among the volunteers. "On three, we all move. 1, 2, 3. They erupted into action, a chorus of frantic shouts and stomping feet. Jamie led the charge deeper into the woods, her heart in her throat. The sound of her team ringing through the night was a steady chorus of reassurance. Xing stayed close, hesitantly mirroring Jamie's courage. "You've got this, Xing. Stay with me," she urged as they dashed through the underbrush, the adrenaline coursing through her like wildfire. With every step, she felt her past strengthen her resolve. The pythons followed, drawn to the movement and noise. "Over here," she called, slapping her hands against her thighs to create more sound. No sooner had she done it than the lead python shifted its focus, head darting toward her. "Now!" Jamie shouted, as the volunteers scattered in different directions, each forming a barrier between Xing and the advancing snakes. As Jamie led them into the clearing, they turned on all lights and grabbed objects, creating a chaos of color and sound. The bright flashlights danced like fireflies, bouncing off the trees. Each clang of pots and energetic yells built a chaotic symphony, minute by minute shifting the focus of the serpents to this new source of panic. "Keep it going," Maria yelled, pouring water to fill the air with an odd melody against the trees, creating an atmosphere of confusion. They needed the pythons to lose sight of their target. The reptiles paused, tongues tasting the air, tangled in the confusion. "Let us move them," Jamie shouted, taking a deep breath. "This is now or never." With renewed energy, Jamie and the group pushed further into the clearing, ducking and weaving, taking advantage of the confusing sounds. Suddenly, one python lunged toward the noise, its body arching like a coiled spring. But Jamie stood firm. "Keep it tight. Don't break ranks," she commanded, as they formed a protective barrier around Xing, shielding him with their bodies. "Don't let fear win," Maria roared, her spirit igniting like a beacon in the dark. The crowd united, surrounding Xing like a family, holding each other close, hearts beating as one. With a swift movement, Jamie noticed a gap in the old fence nearby, a potential escape. "This way," she hollered, urging everyone to follow her lead. As they sprinted, Jamie glanced back, her pulse quickening. The python hesitated and then, sensing a different path, coiled towards Maria, who remained behind, pouring out remaining juice as a bold sacrifice to lure it away. "Get out. I'll be right behind you," Maria shouted, her eyes locked on the advancing serpent. Jamie felt her heart clench. "No. We can't leave anyone behind. Just go," Maria shouted with fierce determination. Jamie's legs moved instinctively, pulling Xing and the others toward freedom, pushing through the gap in the fence. In those last moments, as they raced outside the enclosure, Jamie unleashed a primal scream, fear and hope intertwined. "We're coming back for you, Maria." As the rest of them stumbled to safety, their hearts pounding, Jamie felt a wave of relief wash over. But there was still work to do. She knew she'd return. They would return. Moments later, the darkness of the night was filled with sirens approaching, lights flashing through the trees. The community had rallied. They were coming to help. As Jamie caught her breath, looking back at the zoo, the pride and sense of unity shone in her heart brighter than any fear. No matter what it had taken, they had saved Xing. They had come together against adversity, proving that community and compassion could conquer any fear. "Look!" someone exclaimed, pointing back toward the zoo. From far away, Jamie saw Maria appearing not alone, but grateful and triumphant, coming home with a confidence she had never displayed before. Tears brimmed in Jamie's eyes as she turned to her friends and the crowd that had gathered. They had carved out a moment of unity amid chaos, pushing fear aside to finally embrace their strength. "We did it," she whispered, her heart swelling with pride. United, they were a tapestry, the town, the zoo, and all of them woven together, not just by fear but by love that had shone through their darkest moments. "Remember this day," Jamie called out, her voice strong and clear. "We're more than just a community, we're family." With renewed hope and strength in their hearts, they faced forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. So, my friend, if you felt the spirit of this story, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending, let us keep the conversation going. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation of courage and community. Don't wait not even one more second to share. We're in this together, making moments that matter.